What is up, everybody? Jason Tracy. This episode today is a real life episode of It's a Wonderful Life. The decisions that we make really impact the community. What if you didn't exist in your community? What would it look like? Check it out if that intrigues you. What does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? A dangerous amount of coffee and a ton of grit. My name is Jason Tracy, and every week I interview business leaders to share their stories, life lessons, failures, and advice with you. Welcome to Coffee and Grit. What is up? What is up? What is up? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit. Super excited. I'm super excited for this episode. You know, I was telling Erika the other day when we were talking about the episode and coming on, I'm like, you know, it's just like sitting down for a cup of coffee. And then I realized we've never really actually sat down and like had that conversation and had that one-on-one. So I'm super excited. You all know those are some of my favorite episodes sometimes, but especially since I've known Erika for so long now, it is absolutely ridiculous. I see her almost every day. In the office. We've been, you know, it's not like I don't know Erika. We just haven't sat down and had like this deep conversation. So what better place to do it than on Coffee and Grit, right? And so the other cool thing is Erika is an absolute difference maker. She's a difference maker in this community. She's a difference making entrepreneur. She's a lady boss. And so I'm super excited to bust into that story and understand it. And so, man, Erika,
yes.
Thank you.
Well, Jason, I'm a little embarrassed. Thank you very much for saying those nice things.
I don't lie. I say everything is true.
I don't really think about myself as a leader. I just keep doing and doing and doing, and I see places where things have to be done, and then I do them.
And that is one of my, that was one of the things I was going to say in the intro to you, is one of my things I'm most excited to have you on this show is you're not a person that puts yourself out in front and center and says, I do all these things. You're not like looking at it for the pat on the back and the recognition.
Recognition is nice.
Yeah.
But there's also the part of making sure that things are happening. And that's important for our community. And the community is important to me. And that's why I do those things. Not because I think I'm going to win an award or people are going to come up to me and shake my hand. I actually do them because I like to hang out with my friends, right? Other business people, and get them together so we can share ideas. And that's really an important piece to my business too, is having a huge network of people that I can count on and call and know when I call them, they're going to pick up the phone or they're going to give me a call back by the end of the day. That's an important piece. You know, I have a business and I'm there by myself. And so I don't have employees to say, go do this or go do that. It's other business people that I work with for the most part.
And it's cool, like when it's your crew coming together and rallying and putting the chamber holiday event together.
And that was all because the chamber wasn't going to have their party. Nothing against the chamber. You know, there was some shifting that happened in the last year. And they said they weren't going to have the holiday party. And I said, no, we have to have it. And I called my friends who are in business here in Livingston County, and they all agreed. And we showed up and put on the party. And there it is. Right. So that's literally how that happened. I kind of told them what they were going to do. And they're like, okay, Erika, one more time, we'll follow you. Right. So that's what happened.
But it's just in your heart, you know that that's what's right.
It was the right thing to do. And that, not just that party, but getting people together in groups so that they can meet other people. You know, a ton of new people came to that event. New to the chamber, new to the community, and we need those new businesses and we need those new people to keep refreshing business in the area and making new connections. And you never know, you know, my thing is you never know who you're going to run into. You know, I know our office is on the other side of Brighton City, kind of. Mm-hmm. I don't usually drive my car if I'm in the downtown area. I like to walk because I never know who I'm going to run into.
Yeah.
And it's those parking lot conversations where you can run into somebody and go, oh, hey, I need to talk to you. And, you know, take out your phone. And right then, that's another big thing that I do is I don't let people get away from me. If they say, yeah, we should really hook up sometime. Okay,
yes.
Let's make the time right now. And then that puts it on the either of us to cancel, right?
Yes.
If we're not even into the putting it onto the schedule part, it's never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
That's the truth, because you're going to walk away from that conversation in the parking lot or on the sidewalk, and you're going to think about the next thing that you're supposed to be doing.
Yep.
So if you're not doing it right then, it's probably not going to happen until the next time you see that person. Oh, we really need to get together, right? And then it kind of gets into like that groove where you see them 3 or 4 times,
Yep.
and you're still not on each other's schedule, and you're missing a good opportunity because obviously something in the universe is telling you that you need to sit down with this person because you keep bumping into them and you haven't talked to them yet. And you know, really, those are conversations that are worthwhile, is just sitting down with somebody and talking with them, even for 15 minutes, because they might have good insight into something that you want or need for your business.
It's so crazy. How many opportunities do you think opportunities and relationships are missed with those like best of intentions of
Many.
let's get together soon?
Many opportunities are missed. You have to make an effort. You know, again, going to events. If you're going to an event to network with people, then if you're walking away from that event and you haven't scheduled a time to do a one-on-one with someone, why did you go to the
Why
event?
did you go?
Right?
Yeah.
Was it just to kind of see what was going on and do a wink and a gun at people? I don't know, but you have to walk away, at least for me in my business model, because even when I started my business, I didn't have any business, right? You're starting at 0. So, okay, so my job is to get business. And what I said to myself was, I need to meet 10 new people every week, right? That's a goal.
Yeah.
Is it reality? Did it ever happen? It happened one time when I was starting things and sitting down with people. And yeah, can it get monotonous? But you're also building your network. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, here's, you know, call Erika, she can help you. Or, you know, or I know somebody, you know, another business owner that needs your assistance. So it takes time. But if you don't do it, then you're sitting out to sea at your desk looking at your phone going, is this thing on? Is anybody calling me? I'm going to send a text to somebody to see if it's working or not. So that's how I, you know, started my business model. And I stand by it even today, because there's a ton of new people to meet every day. And I meet with everyone. If you're new, I would love to meet with you. And then I can talk to you about your business, and I can tell you all these great events that you can go to. And it's not that I'm trying to indoctrinate you into some kind of strange Livingston County, you know, meetup club. It's if everybody can be involved, there's a lot of support there. And you know those businesses that start.
Absolutely.
And you're like, oh, I have a bad feeling about that business if they, you know, they really have to reach out for help to people. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, you see they're closed.
Yep.
And that's no fault of the business owner. It's just that there's other ways other than social media and, you know, print ads and those kinds of things to advertise yourself. So that it's actually advertising if you think about it. But it's also a way to make good connections with people. And it's a way to touch people. You have to get people to think about you and get them to think about you all of the time. And that's hard to do unless you're out and talking to people.
And it's not about like going out and slinging and selling, because we haven't even talked about what you do yet. You know what I mean? That's the thing, is
right?
we're like this deep into the episode, and that's it. But like people don't miss that point.
No, I don't. You know, I don't think that's part of it, but it's also part of being a part of a community.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love the internet, but a lot of times people are using that as a crutch and wondering why they're not getting business, or they're using some kind of service to send out their information on Facebook or Twitter or X, I guess is what it's called now.
It's like Pine Knob. It's like I can't
there
change
you go.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm old school.
Yeah.
How about that? You know, and that's great. That's a great way to reach people, and they're looking at the images and those kinds of things. But if you can't get people to like those things, right? My friends like those things, and the people that I've met like those things. So you're just kind of pushing out images of yourself, and it's not being liked or shared or those kinds of things. So you're missing out on that. So you're paying for something that's not really working at all. So, yeah.
It's huge. And this is why I started this show, as far as that, when you're talking about it's lonely being an entrepreneur, and then if you don't seek out the resources. And so I was noticing when I started my business, I was going out and having so many conversations with people and sitting down, and then I was getting to know their story and hear, I'm curious and like asking them how they got into all these kind of conversations that we're having right now. How did you build? And they're telling me these amazing stories. And it's like, man, there's so many entrepreneurs, so many people go out there, they start a business and they keep it kind of lonely. They don't know, like they don't learn, I've got to go meet 10 people. And then even when they go to the chamber or they go to any kind of networking event, it's like, oh, I've got to sell myself now. I've got to get business now. I'm here to get business. And no, it's about that relationship.
Yes, it is. And those people when you go to those kinds of networking events where they're selling themselves, and that's a big turnoff, right?
Yeah,
It really is. Right away that they're selling themselves. And if they just adjusted just a little bit, then it would be so much better for them and their business. And that's something that you have to learn, but you don't learn it unless you keep doing it and doing it and doing it. It's like exercise, right?
Yeah.
It's an exercise for your business and for yourself too. And it is lonely, an entrepreneur. And going to those kinds of events and being with other people actually makes me feel better, because then I'm hearing from other people how their business is going. And, we're all in the same boat, but separately, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're just as lonely. I don't know if it's lonely or just kind of like, why is nothing working? And so when I go and I talk to other people, I say, okay, I'm still on the right track. They're on the right track. And we're just working together, but separately.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Did you coming straight into business, did you always have that mindset as far as building the relationships, or did you have to kind of learn that?
I think at first, looking back now, because it's been a while now, I think that was something that I had to learn. For me and my business, people believe that so I'm an attorney, right?
Yep.
So let's just put that out there.
Yes.
And I think that there's a stigma that if you're an attorney, you just have this tree in your backyard with clients on it, and you go out and you pick one. Oh, this one seems ripe, and you have it. But that's not how it works, right? I need people to tell people that, she's trusted, she's going to do a good job. And so that's a big leap for a lot of people. They're trusting me with a lot of delicate information, and I'm managing things for their families. And why would I call this person? I don't know who she is. I don't know what she does. But the more you go and you meet with people, other business owners or just random people, then there's a trust that's built. So that was something that I learned over time, that you have to have a network and you have to go and meet people. And after a while, you get into the groove of it, I guess is what I can describe it as. For me, and starting as an attorney, I graduated from law school in 2008. So if you want to kind of rewind all the way back to that time, that was not a great time, because that was the housing bubble that occurred, and there wasn't any jobs for me at big law, right? And so I had to kind of reverse plan a little bit and say, oh, well, I have this law license. I guess I can do it myself. And so there was a lot of things that I had to figure out at the beginning, and figure out how to do clients, how to manage my business, how to network, how to have a life too, right? That's the other piece to this. Is solo entrepreneurs are doing their business all of the time and not balancing that with life. And I don't find that that's a good idea.
You're going to crash and burn.
You will crash and burn, or you'll just constantly have this like thing hanging over your head where you're worrying. And so you have to know how to balance those things, and how to know when to let go of the business and be with your family or your friends, or even by yourself, doing something that you enjoy by yourself. And it's okay to do that. But that makes me a better business owner as well, because I did have the downtime and I didn't, overly worry about things. Over the course of time, then, the network builds up and people begin to know you and you become more and more involved with the community and things that you're doing. And volunteering is a big part of my business too, because I enjoy doing it. And it's important to the community. And that's also incorporated into my business model as well. But I still want to meet new people all the time. I met new people at that holiday party and, we met for coffee and now I know them. And now they know that they can contact me and ask me questions. I think, too, there's a lot of younger people entering the business market now than ever before. And I find that they're entering, but they don't have, in my opinion, good mentorship, but they don't know how to go about getting a good mentor.
Yes.
And they're coming to networking events. And let's be honest, right? They're cliquey, right? When you go to networking events, some people already know each other and they've known each other for a long time. But it's important to, when you see someone new and they're just standing there with their hand in their pocket, to go and talk to them and welcome them and say, hey, what's going on with your business? So that's also, right, something that I try and do all of the time too, because I need those young people who are starting new businesses, because sooner or later I'm going to be old and I'm not going to want to do my business anymore. And so, or not as much.
Yeah.
And so I need younger individuals doing their business and being successful. And the only way that they can be successful is if they have someone who's older, who's seen, oh, I know exactly what you're going through. Maybe if you try X, Y, and Z. And it's kind of like what we were talking about before we went on the air here, is knowing yourself, talking to somebody who's done it, and incorporating what the older entrepreneur has done into your business model and pushing that forward.
There's so much in that. It's like learning from, like mixing in and learning from both generations. And
yes, and it can be difficult, there's older attorneys than me that, they aren't used to using Zoom meetings or things like that, or, so I can help them with that. But there's stuff that the younger entrepreneurs are doing that I have no idea, right?
Yes.
I really don't.
Yep.
And we were also talking about ChatGPT. I have no idea how that works, Jason. I've used it a couple times, but it doesn't really come to mind until somebody says something. And then I say, oh, wow, even when you said that before, I was like, oh, I really should have ran that through the email that I sent out yesterday. I really should have ran that through there before I sent it out. But it's not something that comes into my head at all.
Yeah.
But that's what the younger entrepreneur can say to me is, well, maybe you want to start doing that. So
it's our views of the world.
Right.
We all view the world differently.
That's right. And I'm missing out.
Yes.
Right? Because that's a tool.
We can open our views.
Yes. If I used it correctly, it's a tool for me to use, but I just don't. And so then I struggle with an email, like changing the words and wondering, well, does that sound too harsh? Does it not? But ChatGPT probably will tell me, hey, why don't I use this word instead? Right? So
you can literally run through your thing and say, make this sound whatever way you want it to sound.
Right.
So
that's something that a younger entrepreneur might say, hey, you might want to start doing that instead, just like I do with older entrepreneurs or older attorneys. Say, hey, you might want to just go ahead and use this a couple of times and you'll see that you're on track.
Yeah. So earlier you were talking about getting out of school and there wasn't any jobs in like the big corporations. Had you ever, going through school, had you saw yourself as a solopreneur?
No. Not at all. So my story is a little bit different.
Yeah.
My undergrad degree is in international studies of East Asia. And so I don't think you knew that.
No, I did not.
So there's going to be some surprises here.
I love it.
So I actually went to university in China in 1993. So that's kind of telling how old I am. And I was there learning Chinese and learning about China because my undergrad is in international studies. And then I came back, got my degree, and then I got a master's degree in business, which is also in international business. So I always imagined myself, doing international business.
Yeah.
And I speak Mandarin Chinese. And I also worked in China for 5 years. I ran cruise ships on the Yangtze River. So it was a joint venture between a U.S. company and a Chinese company at the time. And we had guests from all over the world on the cruise ships. It's kind of like the Viking cruises.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was. And then I kind of grew a little bit bored of the position that I was in the company. And I said, I want more money. And they said, no. And I said, okay. And so then I came back here and I thought, well, what am I going to do? Well, you always wanted to do, another degree. Let's do law school. And then we can do law as well. And actually, when I was getting my law degree, my internship was with a Chinese law firm in Beijing. And that was in 2007. So I was doing contracts for the Olympics because China hosted the 2008 games. And so the law firm that I worked for, they were writing the contracts for the Chinese businesses that would be doing business with people from North America, I guess. And so I worked there. And then 2008. So I really had to re-engineer what I thought I would be doing. Because I thought, well, I'll just get a job here in China and work for a law firm. I'll have my degree. I'll be a lawyer. I have a business acumen. All the boxes are getting ticked. But there's like these outside influences that occur that you have no control over, right?
Yeah,
I don't have any control over the economy or what's happening outside of me, right? I can control myself. And so I came back here, no jobs, but I knew I could do it. And so that's when the whole Erika McNamara law started happening. But I can say that because I had that experience of 2008, when the pandemic happened, I knew exactly what to do. Because there was no business at that time in 2008, and everything is getting shut down now. Nope, I know what to do. You just have to keep going forward, and you have to continue on your business line, and it's going to be okay. It's never going to be the same again, right? It's changed dramatically. The pandemic changed my business dramatically, where I do a lot of Zoom calls with people, but before everything was in person.
Oh, yeah.
And so I have to change. And but I knew from my experience of starting out by myself that it can be done, but you just have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And now, look at us now, it's better.
Yeah.
There's outside influences happening now again, right? But we won't talk about those things, but I know that as long as I keep pushing and learning new things and making the network, it'll still all kind of flow together. I think that's another thing that I say to new entrepreneurs. You have an idea in mind what you want to do. That's great. Have a plan, have a goal, but always know like a little grain of sand in the clockwork can bust the clock in a minute.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to adjust. And really, I think that's what we saw in the pandemic. A lot of people in my industry were not able to adjust.
Yeah.
And so they kind of fell off, or they made a decision to do something else, which is perfectly fine. But for me, I just knew, just keep going forward and pushing forward. Now, do I think about what's happening in the alternate universe when, where they didn't have a economic downturn when the alternate Erika graduated from law school? And is she, doing law in China or whatever? Yes. But that's so far behind me because now I have new goals and a new plan.
Yeah.
And that's part of being an entrepreneur too, is adjusting and making a new plan. If things don't go your way, then yes, feel sorry for yourself. Sit down and feel sorry for yourself. But you can't feel sorry for yourself forever. And you have to stand back up and say, okay, we're going to go forward. And that can be discouraging to new entrepreneurs too, right? Because, I had this great plan and everything was falling in place, and then it all kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be discouraging you from doing business, because isn't that how business goes? You're always like in swimming with the sharks, so to speak. But I also know there's a ton of attorneys out there. We're sitting here in Brighton right now, and if we got in the car and drove from where we are now all the way to the end of Grand River, to the north of Livingston County, there's probably 200 attorney signs out there. So that's another piece, is that I'm not in competition with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because if I thought I was in competition with other attorneys, I would be frozen. I focus on myself and the practice that I have. And I do learn from other attorneys and what they're doing. And sometimes I do incorporate what they're doing into my practice. But I share my clients with other attorneys. If I know I can't help that person, I say, well, this is the person that you need to call. And it doesn't make me upset or anything like that. I just know I'm doing the best for my client and sending them to my competition, I guess. But I'm also doing the best for me too, because if I take something that I don't know what I'm doing, it's only going to stress me out.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Yes.
so that's something too that people in business, I think, have to learn over the course of time, that there's a give and take, and how much can you take and how much can you give?
It falls into that like scarcity versus abundance mindset. And it's so easy, especially as an entrepreneur, to get into scarcity, especially when things are going bad. But it's realizing that there is enough business out there, and that you're not a fit for everybody. And that, man, I know when I've tried to make the clients fit that I knew weren't a fit going in, you saw the red flags going in, always backfired.
Yes, definitely. And it's not helpful to them or to you
Yeah.
at all, because you're just stressed out all of the time and you're nervous. And then you're thinking, how do I unload this client?
Yeah.
Or that kind of sounds bad, but how do I kind of get rid of the problem that I'm having because we're not connecting in the right way?
Absolutely. It's the best thing you can do. And like we talked about earlier, kind of like, I don't know if we phrase it this way, but dominating a space or getting people to constantly think of you. And sometimes the best ways to do that is to send somebody, say, hey, like being that honest, I'm not a good fit. How about over here? And
Right.
I know I've done that, and I've had people, then those same people referred people to me.
Right. And it goes back to, when you analyze your business strengths and weaknesses, that's actually a strength. Knowing yourself and your limitations, that's a huge strength. Other people might see that, well, you're just weak because you won't take on, that client. Look how much that client is worth to you.
Yeah.
Yes, it's worth this much money, but there's also the piece of mind, and there's other clients. I can get 15 other clients to equal this one, right? And it goes back to your abundance theory that you've been talking about all of this time. There are plenty of clients, and if you're focusing only on this one, then what are you giving up? A friend of ours in the office, she talks about the ability to say no. Because if you're always saying yes to everything, what are you giving up?
Absolutely.
If you say no, then you can have whatever's hidden over here. And, she's talked to me about that many times. And I've said, yes, I know
Yes.
what you're saying, right? Yes. Because a lot of times I do say yes to things. And I know that I'm giving up other things for that. And it's understanding that you are giving it up. So, yeah.
It is like you're driven, it's being driven, and there's a part of that you take on. You take on when people ask you stuff, and then you don't feel guilty to say no.
Yes, I feel guilty. I do. And then there's always the piece where I know something is happening and it's not going right. And then I kind of say, well, let me just help you out. And then all of a sudden, no, I'm in the middle of the water and I can't exactly say no, but I can't exactly say yes. I'll help you out. And so that's kind of where I am with a lot of things. I want to say no, but I also have a lot of good wealth of information that I can help you with, but I don't want to be fully in. But then all of a sudden you're fully in. It's a strange kind of thing. But I enjoy assisting people with what they're doing. And I think that that's part of my personality too, is I think everybody should have an opportunity to do what they want to do. And so I'm willing to dive in and assist them.
So it's just like back and forth.
It is back and forth all of the time, and then I tell people my friends that, because they always say, well, what are you doing today? And I'll say, well, I'm doing some documents and some emailing and that kind of thing. And to me, that doesn't seem like a lot. But to them, oh, okay, well, she's being lawyerly today. And I get on myself when I don't have a client every day. But that's not the way that it's supposed to be. So logically, there's, one piece where I want clients every day, but I also need time to do the documents. So it's a weird kind of budding of the two ideals, and there's a way to incorporate those. It's just figuring out how to manage that and how to tell myself, calm down, you're fine, right? If you get these things done, then you'll have clients in. And so there can be downtime even for me, and being able to understand downtime and understand busy time. And that's hard too. My business is client-based, so I don't have a retail shop, but I know that sometimes retailers, they don't sell anything. If you have a small store or something like that, or a specialty store, maybe they don't sell anything in one day, but then the next day,
boom.
Yes. So it's kind of up and down.
In retail, there's months where, you sell stuff, but very small. Right. And then you have the holiday season where it's like this boom of where you make your whole season, or like summer months.
Right.
Where
And
it's killing it.
Yeah, it's the same for my area of law. So I practice estate planning. So that has to do with wills and trusts and durable power of attorney documents. And, during the summer months, people in Michigan are not really thinking about making a will, right? Come June and July and August, because they're out enjoying, the time and the weather and things like that. So that's usually my downtime, is during those summer months, when I can fill it with other things, of course. But even for me, and like any business, it goes up and down and it expands. For me, actually, during the holidays and the beginning of the year, that's the busy time for me, because people are visiting with their families and they're seeing that Aunt Mildred is not kind of clicking on all of her clacks and right. And oh, gee, Aunt Mildred, what have you made any plans? Maybe we should start thinking about that. Or people are getting together and talking about these kinds of things. Because really, Jason, if somebody's waking up in the morning thinking about dying and being sick, it's not me that they need to be coming to see. They should be going and talking to someone else, because my area of law, that's what we're talking about. We have
some therapist friends we can refer out to.
So that's who they should be going and talking to. But, it's a delicate area of law that work in, just because people are talking about these things. What's going to happen in the future if I do get sick or when I do die? Because I hate to be the one to tell you this, Jason, we're all going to die. And planning for that. And that's a difficult thing. And so, I would like to see more people in our age bracket planning ahead. But the bulk of my clients are in their 70s and 80s because, all of a sudden I need to be planning. But again, yes, that's usually my busy time is holiday, beginning of the year time. So, because everybody's noticing these things, or they know they have to. A lot of people at the beginning of the year have made it one of their resolutions to get it done. And so that's why I kind of get stacked in January and February, is because I need to get it done. And there they are. Or then we've rolled around to December and they still haven't done it. And that's why they're getting in. I have to get it done before the end of the year. But, it ebbs and flows. I really think that. And, I also do small business law too. So when people are starting their businesses, I can help them with the contracts or review things for them or make contracts. And that's usually a one and done thing too, is where I'm setting up, what their policies and procedures are. And I do a lot of work with nonprofits too. So I assist people setting up nonprofits. Now, I know you can do that all online, but there are some intricacies of nonprofit law that do have to be addressed. And I work with people all the time that set them up. And I work with a lot of nonprofits here in Livingston County. Right now, I'm on the board for Work Skills Foundation.
Oh, super awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I usually am sitting on a board at any given time.
Part of the not saying no.
Part of the not saying no.
I learned that early in business. It's like, damn it.
It's like, how did I get here? So, yeah, I do a lot of community work that way too with nonprofits. So the bulk of my law practice is transactional. I don't go to court a lot. And I shouldn't, because I'm not very good at it, right? And so I have to recognize that about myself and say, maybe 1 or 2 times a year, I think you'll be okay. But I know that about myself, and that goes back to the referring it to the right attorney that's going to do a good job for the client.
And it goes back to the very beginning. You're talking about like the awareness of knowing yourself too.
Right. And that can be hard. It takes a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
Because again, if you're starting your business or you're moving forward, you're like, I have to do everything and I have to be perfect.
Yes.
There's perfect, and then there's perfect. And understanding that about yourself, and I'm not judging other people. I hope that they're not judging me either, or the way that I run my business. And I think a lot of times when people are starting their businesses, they feel like people are looking at them and judging them.
Yep.
But we're not. I'm hopeful for them. And I'm hoping that they can stay in their retail space or their client-based business because it only helps me. Right? It really does. If all of the storefronts in downtown Brighton are filled, that only helps me because there's more people in the downtown. There's more people that I'm running to in the parking lot.
Yes.
And that's important. No matter what business you're in, that is very important. And if there's I always tell people when I'm at the chamber event or other networking events, is if there's anything I can help you with, let me know. And sometimes that's just a simple call like, do you know this person? Can you make an introduction for me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can. Here you go. That's what is it to me, really, to send out an email. Or, sometimes clients do call me and say, well, this is what I'm doing. I say, oh, I know the perfect person that you need to talk to. And I sent you a client, I think, right? And so that's the important piece, instead of sitting on your hands and saying, well, no, I guess there's nothing. You can't do anything for me. You're not giving me any money. So I'm done with you. Well, that's not true, because if I send them to the right other kind of business, that only helps me, because the truth is that gets the business owner thinking about me. And it goes back to what I said, is I need everybody thinking about me all of the time.
Yes. And that's the way you do it. It's those
Right.
little things.
That's
And
right.
it's the foundation of that is going out and helping other people.
Yes, I think so.
To a
but,
degree.
to a degree.
Yeah.
I'm not altruistic, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing it to help me.
Oh, for
too.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
But helping other people, yes. That is an important, for me and my business model, that's an important piece for me, because again, it only supports my business. And really, you know how it goes. Word of mouth is an important piece. And if people are talking about me, I want them to say, oh,
You need to be Erika.
I like her, or
Yeah.
she did a good job, or you know what, she helped me out by sending an email and hooking me up with the right person. And she didn't really need to do that. I didn't, but
Yes.
they're thinking about me and they're saying it to other people. So yes, social media, but in real life, you know, kind of thing.
It's a brand. It's branding.
Yes.
When people say your name and they think of you, they're saying all great things. So if somebody's like, you know, we're talking about like being vulnerable and doing wills and trusts and, you know, having those conversations, that speaks for you
Right.
and the kind of person you are.
It is a kind of branding, I guess. Yes. And marketing too, right?
Yeah.
I've had ads in different flyers here in Livingston County. Never had a referral from that ad. But I do know that I have had referrals when I show up in person to places, or people
Yes.
talking about things and sending me the clients. So I know that works. And so that's why I keep doing it again and again and again, because I know it works.
Part of the really fun thing with me and like guests on the show and like, you know, with all the work that you do in the community and all the people that are talking about your name is that week that the podcast comes out and putting out the clips, because it's just that the gasoline on the fire that you already have,
Yes.
because people have a reason to talk about you, you
Yes.
know?
Well, that's true. Yes, they do have a reason to talk about me, hopefully in a nice way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it helps your business too.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's because people are watching the podcast and going, oh, who is this guy? Because maybe they're watching it because I'm on it. And they're like, oh, Jason Tracy.
I went to an event last night. And I didn't know anybody. It was at the All Heart Garage.
Oh, okay.
And there's a lot of people there I didn't know. And I told Gracie, like, at first, it was a lot of work. Like, I was like, there are people that were just like, you know, some of them were nervous and just like, I'm used to walking into a room and knowing a lot of people. And so there's like, you know, so it starts the conversation. So the early people that got there, I didn't know any of them. And so we're like just trying to stretch out the conversation. And then as the room started filling and people there knew me or talked about this podcast or whatever the case may be, the people that were at the beginning that was really tough to have conversations with were all of a sudden coming up in a whole new light. Like, I heard that I really need to talk to you. And I heard about this whole podcast and you're that guy. And it was like, all of a sudden, you know, it was like this, it shifted. But I do this work for a reason. I don't like making cold calls. You know, I like building relationships. And then this whole thing, yes, I was trying to get myself out there. I didn't like creating content, sitting and talking to myself to my phone. I wasn't getting any energy from that. At the same time, I'm going out and having phenomenal conversations with people. And I need to get myself out there. But what I was finding is the people I'm talking with, they're trying to create content too. They're trying to get themselves out there too. And so cool, we have this mutual thing that we're doing together. You put the content out there and, you know, people are responding and blowing up. And so it always makes my relationships closer.
Oh, yes, I bet. And you're following the rules of, if you're going to a networking event, I better walk out of here with something set up for later on.
Exactly.
And it sounds like you met a whole new set of people,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
And so that's, you know, it's kind of like diving into a cold pool sometimes is, oh, I'm shocked, but all of a sudden it warms up on you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so now you have a whole new set of new people to talk with.
Well, and that's what it is. You do have to do a mix. You can't just like to your point, put stuff on the social media and like hope that it works out. I get responses on my social media because I went in and did the work. I went in and met a lot of people. I've done a lot of networking groups. I've met, I've spoken in front of a lot of groups. I've done a lot of stuff like that to where when now I have more of a following. When I put out stuff, it gains attraction.
Right. And you have to keep doing it.
You have to keep doing it. You have to keep doing it.
Yes.
And that's the worst part is when you get, sometimes you get busy or overwhelmed. You get to a point and then you stop going out and doing the stuff.
Yes.
And you're busy with clients, especially the solopreneur. And then all of a sudden all those clients go away,
right.
Because you're like moving on and everything else. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I've got to get back into this because I've got to fire the stove back up.
I totally agree with that. Right. And so again, that's, for me and my business, the way that it runs is it's important for me to go to a networking event at a minimum once every 2 weeks. To meet new people and to connect with the old people too, right? I'm not forgetting about not old in age, but people that I've known for a long time, because I'm having good conversations with the people that I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
And it also keeps them on track, keeping me in mind too. And I do ask a lot of my friends. I really do. I ask them, well, I'm volunteering here. Do you want to? And maybe it's something they never thought about. And they say, oh, yeah, I can go and volunteer with you at this golf outing or at this event or whatever. And by bringing a friend with me, I'm introducing them to a whole new world too, that they didn't even know was there.
Yes.
And maybe something will spark for them. But it's sparking for me because I brought a volunteer with me. It's not just me by myself. So it's
all mutually beneficial.
Right, it is. But that's the beauty of having people in your long-term network that you can call and say, hey, you want to try this out? Let's try it and see how it works for you. I know how it's going to be. And it might work for them too. And so, right, you've got the, new like baby entrepreneurs, and then you have like mature entrepreneurs, and even mature entrepreneurs can learn something. Even I learn something, there's events that I go to and I think, why am I going to this? Right? There's not of interest to me. And that's just the truth, right?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I show up and gosh darn it all, something happens and I'm like, I
one last night, I thought it was 4 to 6 and it ended up being 6 to 8. It's a 2-hour gap. And I'm like sitting there like, I don't really want to leave the house at 6 o'clock. But it's like, I know once I go there, something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen. And again, just walking down the street, you never know who you're going to run into. And that's just the truth of the matter. If you go to these events, even though sometimes, you're kind of like, something's going to happen. And even if something doesn't happen, at least you tried. At least you did it. And now well, that's not for me. So if you don't even try, how do you know if it's for you or not for you?
Yeah.
That's just the truth. So for me, it's just keep going, like Dory says, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And so, that's how I manage my business and my business model.
I love it. I want to go back just and reflect on something that we talked about. It was probably about 10, 12 minutes ago in talking about like knowing your strength as far as is going into court and stuff like that. I just want to make a point to entrepreneurs listening, because a lot of times we think we've got to do it all and we beat ourselves up because we are drivers. And we think that we'll take it on. We can take anything on, right? And then we if we know it's a weakness or we don't like doing it, we start beating ourselves up in our head that we should be able to do this and like what's wrong with us, or let's just push through it, as opposed to like what you did and just say, this isn't where I'm strong at, and this is what I'm going to focus on in my business over here.
Right. But I can recognize that about myself. And again, it takes reflection. You have to sit by yourself and reflect. What did I do this week? I do that, right? Usually on Monday.
Yeah.
Monday morning, I think, what did I do last week? Was that good interaction, bad interaction? And then I think about what I have to do this coming week and think, how am I going to make everything a good interaction? So I'm thinking about these things. And then over the course of time, you have some data. So if you're just starting out, you don't really have any data. And you think, yes, I can do all of these things. After a while, you'll have the data and you'll say, wow, I really am not very good at that.
Yes.
But I think that's almost anything that we do in life too, right? I would love to play golf and, be a great golfer. And I try it at least twice a year. And every time I always say, wow, this game is just not for me at all. And I enjoy being outside. I enjoy being with my friends. There's a lot of
the stuff
good
you
things.
like.
There's a lot of things I like about it. But the actual playing of the game, not so much. But that can translate to my business too, right? There's a lot of things that I really like about my business. But there's some things that I'm just not good at. I guess if I really wanted to do it and really wanted to put a lot of time and energy into that one thing, playing golf, I could hire somebody to teach me how to do it and how to swing and all of these different things. But am I that interested in it when really the list of things over here that I like are being outside, being with my friends, enjoying a nice golf course, right? Because they're beautiful. So there's all these other things that I like as opposed to, should I really put time into that? So if you kind of analogize that to your business, you can have a good idea of figuring out what you're good at.
So then you still get to enjoy the day on the golf course. You get to hang out with your friends. You're probably more so than if you were golfing, and you're probably meeting more people than if you were golfing. Because like I love golfing, but then I'm with the 4 people that I'm with, or the 3 people I'm with, and you don't have the conversations all throughout the day.
Right, that's right. And so I like doing those things.
Yeah.
So it's the same in my business. I like doing these things, and some things just kind of are just outside of my grasp. But I know that if I kept hammering home on them, yes, I know I could do them. So it goes back to, I know I can do it. Yes, I know I could do it. But is it something that would be value added? I guess that's a good term. Is it value added to me as a person? And is it value added to my business? Or is it value added for me to refer that client to another attorney? That's where the value added is, I'm not the right person for you. Go and find the right person. That's where the value added is.
So I always there's a couple like key decisions that I've always looked back in my life where I've looked back, and you talked about have I ever thought about where the Erika would be, over here in 2008 if things are different, right? Mm-hmm. And I always look back at these couple decisions that I made, and then looking back, if I would have did that, I don't know where I would have ended up. But then I've looked back at the people that I've impacted or the way my life ended up and changed. And it was like, I'm so glad I didn't make that decision.
Right.
And I look at what we've talked about from your friends and the community and the things that you really love to do. Yeah. Have you ever looked at it in the reverse of what if I didn't have this life?
Well, yes, because again, my plan was to be doing international something.
Yeah.
But really, in hindsight, if you think about it, if I had stayed in China, the pandemic, the epicenter was there. I think we know that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
So really, kind of dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
If you look at it in a pragmatic kind of sense, because I could have still been there, and then I would have nothing. If you think about it, because I would have come back here to the United States, that I wouldn't have any business, right? I'd be starting at zero. So Yes. And those decisions that I made, in hindsight, deciding that the company that I was working for wasn't valuing me at the right pay rate, and me making that decision to break that off at that time, that kind of was the turning point. And so my life changed. But again, there's always things that are happening that you can't control. And I could have been set to zero, whereas I'm not at zero now. I have, a business here. I have a great community. I have a huge network. I really like my life here. It's a kind of a diversion, right? In the Frost poem, he said there's two roads and I chose one, and that's how I wound up here. And, choosing the other road, who knows? But I know that I've made the right decisions all the way along the way to get to where I am now.
It's cool because it's just as you're talking and, all the stuff, like it's a completely different life the other direction.
Oh, yes.
It's not the small community walking through the parking lot, running into the people.
No, it's not. Totally different. Even looking, I'm kind of looking up in the corner here, remembering my time there. Yes, it would be totally different. But again, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think about it too much anymore. And, I have lived in Livingston County my whole life, except for the time when I did live abroad, and I came back to the community after I did live abroad and built this, and it's been good to me. And I've been good to it. I think, it goes both ways here.
Absolutely.
But my life would be vastly different. Yes. And who knows? But really, if I spent time thinking about that, maybe I wouldn't be as happy, or
and I apologize for keep going down this road. This is like you're the first person I've had this deep visual of a Christmas Carol, right? And
okay.
In the sense of if outside of your life and your happiness, if you're removed, what happens in the community? Does the community miss if you go in a different direction?
A lot, I would say.
No, and I'm thinking
just because I have a huge ego, but yes, a lot. I would say, there's a ton of things that I do that I think that I take on, that I assist people. So I think a lot of things, and I've been heavily into the chamber here in Brighton for a long time. So there's many things that I've assisted with, events and networking opportunities.
The Heartland Chamber as well. I see you.
Heartland Chamber as well. Yes, that's very true. So I guess now, Jason, what did you do? Now tonight I'm going to be sitting at home watching Netflix and drifting off thinking, wow, yes, Jason's right. Many people. But many people have made a difference for me too. It goes both ways, like we've been saying. But yes, there are many people that I have assisted, both in my business and, networking wise.
Yeah.
I'm looking at their faces in my mind's eye right now. Yeah, I don't know.
Seriously, I'm just out of the gates. I know the Brighton Chamber wouldn't have had a holiday party this year. I'm picturing the movie, and it's like, oh, I wish we would have had that event.
Oh, Jason, you know what we should do? We should totally write a script for that right now, and we'll shop it around and see. We'll make a movie out of it. Yes, but that's important. The party that that we keep referencing was important to me when I started my business. Mm-hmm. How about that? Yeah. There's another piece to it. It's not that I just wanted to put on a show or put on a party. That particular event is open to the community, and everybody comes to it. The mucky mucks that are at the top, and new people, and that's a good opportunity. So you're not paying, a lot of times you pay for a ticket to events, and that can be a barrier. right? Or it's in the middle of the day. It's a barrier to the people that are at the top because they can't leave their business. But this event, everybody comes together and it's a party.
Yeah.
And people are more relaxed. It's the holiday time, so they're relaxed again. And really, if you wanted to get in front of somebody, this is your opportunity. So that particular event is important to me.
Yeah.
Looking back at all of the events that I went to for the Brighton Chamber when I first started going. And I'm still friends with a lot of people that I met on day one in going to those events. And so I guess it's kind of, that's why that happened. But I sincerely hope that those new people that did come used it to their advantage, and the people that are at the top also used it to their advantage to come and show that they're part of the community. I think that's another piece to this, is a lot of these big businesses who are owned by people.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't know who's at the top, and they're kind of faceless.
Because there's so many levels removed.
Right. And it's a great opportunity for those people that are at the top or own the large business, to come and be a part of the community instead of being faceless or just saying, oh, well, that's so-and-so, right? We're all in this, we're at a level set, I guess you could say. Is you're going to a party and there's no person more important than other people there. Because a lot of times when you go to networking events where you pay an admission fee or a ticket, you get set at a table where it's already preordained who you're going to be sitting with, right? People sit with their friends, and people sit with other people from their business, which I can never figure out because you already know them. So that's a big reason why that party happened for me, because when I heard that it was not going to happen, I don't know if it was canceled. It was overwhelming because there was a transition at the chamber, and I can see from their point of view why that would be the lost event. So that's
you just saw the value of it for you and the rest of the business,
for everybody. Yes. And I think that those kinds of events where you're even or level set are so important. And if you have the opportunity to go to those, you should grab it, even if you're at the top, because again, I can see your advertising all over the place, but if I don't know you as a person, or all I'm hearing is, well, that person is blah, 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 because we know how gossip and rumors work. But if you see them in real life standing around having, a chicken wing or something, they're a real person. They're a nice person, or they seem nice, or whatever it is that urges you to use their business. And so it's
more than putting money into like having the banner or whatever.
Right. I can, anybody can sponsor and put their name up, but that doesn't.
Are you there?
Yeah, engender people to use their company or their business. And we know how that works. You can see that even, it takes very little to submarine big franchises throughout the country. Just one little thing that the CEO does or says can submarine you very easily, right? Because, or cancel you. I think that's the word. So, if they come, it's worthwhile to them. It's worthwhile to the newbie, but also the people in the middle. It's a great opportunity as well, because again, you are the people that come all of the time. Let's call them the middle people, but it's a great way to reconnect with the people that you've been doing business with all year long, or maybe you haven't seen in a couple of months and you just want to say, how you doing? It's a good opportunity to get in front of those people that you've known for a long time. And that's a big piece too, is sometimes you take for granted people that you've been doing business for a long time. they're not for granted, but you
Yeah.
kind of have them in your back pocket
Yep.
kind of thing. And then all of a sudden they reach out to you and you're like, oh, I haven't talked to him in a long
Yep.
time. And then you kind of feel a little guilty, but then and then I think, well, he hasn't talked to me either. So we're kind of on the same page,
Yep.
but let's fix it and get together and have a cup of coffee. So that particular event, that's why that one works for me, or that's an example of an event that would work for me.
That's reasons to run into people.
Reasons to run into people, definitely. And that's so important, at least for me in my business.
I love this was at the very beginning of the show talking about like taking that minute to when you run into somebody and as opposed to saying let's get together sometime, making it happen, because I think we've all been at those funerals or family reunions or business networking events where the best intentions are had, but I've learned that same thing. If we don't do it right now, it's never going to happen. We're going to be here the next time there's a funeral and saying, oh, we shouldn't meet at funerals. It's just the way it happens.
That's right. And I can say from experience that I do have other attorney friends, and we put things on the calendar and then we can't, inevitably the first time it's canceled. Well, then we'll set another one, and then we'll set another one. And I think that one of my friends here in town, she and I, after about 3 months, finally were able to make it happen. But we worked at making it happen and, making sure that we rescheduled each time. So that would also be a piece of advice that I would say, if the other person says, well, I can't make it today, then answer back immediately and say, oh, well, let's just put it for next week, and keep putting it for next week until it happens. And don't be discouraged by that, because obviously the person that you're meeting with is having some business, right? And for me, okay, I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you're so busy that, we can't meet. I had to cancel a couple times too. So again, it's just keep doing and doing and doing.
Yeah, because if you cancel and you don't reschedule, it's done. It's not done.
It's dead. Yes, definitely.
We've talked a lot about like what you love as far as the community and everything. What do you love about helping the people that you help?
My clients?
Yes.
I believe that I assist families with giving them a piece of relief, a little bit of stability, certainly, because really the documents that I make for people, wills and trusts and durable power of attorney, those are for crisis moments. And, the big thing is the will be used at some time because, again, it's going to happen. Yeah. But those other documents may never be used. But if you are in a crisis, they're done. So it's peace of mind that I'm assisting families with. And, in my experience, I don't know about you, Jason, but making decisions in a crisis never works. And so many times, many times I'll get a call from a family that's in the crisis. And so we have to act really fast and make a bunch of decisions. It's not pleasant for the family. Obviously, they're having a crisis, but it's also not pleasant for me either because I'm a stranger to them. And you're bringing in a stranger to figure out some pretty big decisions. So, for people that are not in crisis that come to me for planning decisions, it gives them peace of mind to know that if that ever does happen, it's all set in place and it's done. But again, people aren't thinking about it. It's not on top of mind. Although I think that deep down, I think that people that do have assets, a large amount of assets, maybe, or families or elderly people, like every person, right? That's what I'm saying here. Think about it, but then they push it off. And, the bulk of my clients come to me because they know of somebody that had something happen. And so they want to get it taken care of so that doesn't happen to them. But you can come to me if you're not having a crisis too and get it done in a peaceful way. And those are clients that I enjoy working with because we're taking our time and mapping out things. And the other thing I enjoy is it also gives peace to family as well because it's written down.
Yeah.
A lot of people I encounter say, well, I've already told them what to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My mom has told me many times what to do. Whether or not I do it is another thing. But once you write it down, that's the important piece here. And that's what I do. I help people write things down so that there's no misunderstanding when the time comes, the decisions have been made, and things are smooth. I like that part. I think too, part of my personality too, the things I like to do for hobbies are origami and embroidery, which are very precise hobbies if you think about them, because when I'm folding, it has to be precise. I enjoy making the documents because they also have to be precise if you think about it. So even my off-work self is kind of like my work self, where I'm making sure that what my clients are telling me is meticulously written down. So I enjoy that part of my practice of writing things down for clients and getting things in place.
It's amazing. The crisis part, you have an amazing disposition of making people feel comfortable. And I watch as people come in the office, but I know just from when my mom came in and saw you, like how she was like raving about how, like, cause she was in that crisis of things going on and not knowing answers. And she felt just like the weight of the world off her shoulders after coming in and seeing you.
I'm glad. And I think too, people don't know what they don't know. And maybe it's just some simple answers that I can tell to people, and I'm happy to do that too. And I think you know that.
Yeah.
I think you know that if people have simple questions that they need answered, not through Google. Google is a good tool, right? And if you don't know the exact question to ask Google, it's not going to tell you, or ChatGPT, either one.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm happy to meet with people to just kind of settle their minds, whether or not they do a document with me or not, or pay me or not. I think that, again, there's a stigma that people believe that attorneys are, way up high and unattainable. That for me in my practice, that's not the case. I want people to know. I want them to have information. I want them to be able to be informed about their life and things that are going on around them instead of worrying all the time, because that's spending a lot of time worrying about probably something that really isn't that big of a issue.
Yeah.
But again, you don't know unless somebody tells you that. And I talk to people all the time, in person, on the phone, on Zoom, and just answer simple questions. And it takes me 15 minutes usually to rest somebody's mind. That makes me feel a lot better too, because at least they're informed. Mm-hmm. And whether they use my services or not, or go to another attorney, that's okay, because they've been informed and now they know what needs to happen.
If you're having these thoughts and you're worried and you're losing sleep, reach out to Erika.
Yes, please do. I don't have a problem at all about answering questions. I really don't. I enjoy that. I think so. Going back, what do I enjoy? I enjoy meeting with people too, and speaking with them. And I think there's a lot of people that believe that the problem that they're having or the issue that they're having, nobody else has ever had. Mm. And that's just not the case. There are a lot of people that are in the same position. And it's just a matter of letting them know, because again, if you're having the kinds of, we're kind of skirting the issue about what it really is. Like if somebody is sick or somebody has died or something like this, and you're having questions about it, you're not the only person that this has ever happened to. But when those things happen to you, usually you're not talking to your friends because you don't want to burden your friends. Yeah. And so you're not reaching out to them. And so you're being very insular. and then it kind of festers, and then you start to worry, and it becomes an issue for you.
Yep.
So if that is happening, then just pick up the phone, or you can send me an email.
It can be really non-confrontational.
Right. If you want to just like do that, you can. But I'm happy to speak with people. I enjoy that part. It's a puzzle sometimes, right? Because everybody has they're kind of the same problem, but there's different pieces to the puzzle that I'm putting together for people, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And I enjoyed that part of finding which solution is going to work for that client.
That person.
Yes.
So awesome. So as you were talking about the stuff in China and everything, all of a sudden my mind was like, oh, the snakes and the fortune cookies and the the origami.
Yeah.
And so outside of that, what are the things that you enjoy doing outside of work?
So yes, like I said, I do origami and I do embroidery, but I embroider tablecloths. So I've been doing that since I was a very small girl. And I enjoy being outside. So at our house, we have a small hobby farm. And so I have fruit, I have cherries and apples, peaches, nectarines, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, like a whole bunch of different things that are coming on. It kind of was a little upsetting yesterday when we had that blanket of snow, just because we kind of had cleared some areas. And so the snow was sitting right on top of the blackberries that we had cleared. So we'll cross our fingers to see if they'll pop back. And I'm actually growing seedlings in my basement right now. I have started all of my plants that I'll have for the season. So tomatoes and tomatillos, all different kinds of vegetables and those kinds of things. So I enjoy doing that during the summertime. And of course, I like hanging out with my friends. I think that you know that.
Yep.
I have a whole group of people that I do see on a regular basis. I think that's an important piece to being a business owner too, is don't forget about your friends, because you can use them as a support as well. Now, yes, do some of my friends cross over into the business world? Yes. But when we do go out, it's rare that we talk about business. We're talking about other things, life. And so it's important to me to have a good circle of friends that we can support each other with life things, right? Business and life, because life is going on. And if you don't take a little bit of time, it's going to pass you by. And then all of a sudden, for me anyway, this is what I think about, is turning back in, when I'm 80 or 85 going, wow, I really missed out on a lot of fun things because I was so focused on my business. So those are the kinds of things that I like to do.
So I think at the end of the day, this is popular. So nobody says on their deathbed thinking, man, I should have worked more.
No,
I should have put more hours in the office.
I totally agree. I don't think there are any people that I should have worked more or harder or been number one. No, I don't think so. It's nice to be number one once in a while.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
But to stay at number one, unless you're Michael Jordan, we can name all the people that have been number one and stayed at that status, but do they really? And going back to what did they give up to be there? And so I just like to have that nice balance, and it's okay that I'm not number one.
Scotty, I just saw this thing the other day. It was like a couple weeks ago. Scottie Pippen said they asked Scottie Pippen on a podcast how many times him and Michael Jordan had dinner during the time that they were teammates. And he said they got together and they had zero conversation, zero. It was all basketball. They didn't do anything
else.
They weren't friends, and that's just. It's so crazy when you think about
disappointing, right? Like, because
that relationship, and you would think that
and how they knew each other so well on the court and acted like they were so close, yet really not.
So we revere the Michael Jordans and stuff like that, and I'm sure he's an extremely happy person. I'm sure. But there's those people that they'll sacrifice relationships and friendships over being number one.
Right. And we know those people. We know those people personally.
Yeah.
And but they're happy with their choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
It's
Yep.
okay if
Absolutely.
they choose to do that. Well, I just don't choose to do that.
I'm with you. One of my favorite thing about doing business is the community and the relationships that I've built through that. That's been my absolute favorite thing about the whole entire journey. So
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Erika, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you, Jason. I'm so happy that you asked me to be on your podcast.
Oh, my pleasure. You've been on my list, and I'm like, I had something open up. I'm like, oh, I called you up. Like, where are you going to be? You're like, where do you want me to be?
I'll be there.
Yes.
Yes. No problem.
Well, I'm happy that you said yes. So thank you so much.
Very much.
Pleasure.